While America watched them grow up on screen, their bank accounts were being emptied behind the scenes. A staggering 89% of child actors in Golden Age Hollywood earned over $1 million, yet reached adulthood with less than $25,000 to their name. These beloved children captivated audiences with their performances while living under the absolute financial control of their parents or guardians. But what happened when these young stars discovered the truth about their missing fortunes? Newly unsealed court documents reveal how the entertainment industry's most vulnerable talents were forced to battle their own families in landmark legal cases that forever changed child labor laws. Jackie Coogan, the first child millionaire in Hollywood history, became its first high-profile victim of parental financial exploitation, triggering legal protections that still bear his name today. As Charlie Chaplin's co-star in The Kid, Kugan earned over $4 million by age 18, equivalent to roughly $70 million in today's currency, yet discovered in adulthood that he legally owned none of it. California law in the 1920s and 1930s designated a child's earnings as the property of their parents. Studio accounting records reveal Coogan's mother and stepfather spent his entire fortune on mansions, jewelry, and exotic cars, while the young star himself received only a weekly allowance. Production memos from MGM note executives were aware of the situation, but considered it a family matter outside studio jurisdiction. Witnesses recalled the devastating moment at a 1935 industry dinner when a producer casually mentioned Coogan's lavish earnings, unaware the young actor had never been informed of the actual figures. Kugan reportedly excused himself from the table and was found later sobbing in a stairwell, having realized the magnitude of what had been kept from him. His 1938 lawsuit against his mother and stepfather for his squandered earnings became national news, with the Los Angeles Times declaring it the case that destroyed America's image of Hollywood parenthood. Despite public sympathy, Kugan recovered only $126,000 of his multi-million-dollar earnings due to existing laws. The legal battle led directly to the 1939 California Child Actors Bill, commonly known as the Kugan Law, which requires that 15% of a child performer's earnings be set aside in protected trust accounts. The legislation transformed how Hollywood compensates its youngest talents and established the first meaningful protections for child performers in American history. Shirley Temple, America's most beloved child star, discovered in adolescence that despite earning over $3 million during her peak years, her actual savings amounted to just $44,000. Her financial awakening led to a groundbreaking 1944 audit that exposed systematic exploitation by both her parents and studio executives who had built an entertainment empire on her curly-haired image. Studio financial records obtained during discovery revealed that while Temple received a weekly salary, the merchandising empire bearing her likeness, including the non-alcoholic cocktail named after her, generated millions in revenues that never reached her accounts. Production notes from her father's meetings with 20th Century Fox executives show deliberate structuring of contracts to classify merchandise royalties as promotional materials rather than compensable items. The audit uncovered that Temple's mother had signed away significant portions of her daughter's earnings in exchange for production credits and office space on the Fox lot. Witnesses reported that when 16-year-old Shirley confronted her parents with these findings, her father responded, "The money was payment for creating and managing Shirley Temple, not compensating her." Little did Hollywood know that Temple had been meticulously documenting inconsistencies in her parents' financial reports since age 14. Her personal notebooks, later submitted as evidence, contained entries comparing her publicized earnings with her actual bank statements, along with questions like, "Where does the doll money go?" and "Why can't I see the contracts?" The resulting confidential settlement restructured Temple's relationship with both her parents and the studio system. While terms remain sealed, industry records show she subsequently maintained direct control over her finances and later emerged as one of Hollywood's most financially astute former child stars, eventually serving on the boards of major corporations and as a U.S. ambassador. Judy Lewis. The secret daughter of Clark Gable and Loretta Young faced a uniquely painful legal struggle when she attempted to sue her mother for emotional distress and identity concealment. Raised as Young's adopted daughter, despite being her biological child, Lewis discovered her true parentage in adulthood and sought both recognition and compensation for the elaborate deception that defined her childhood. Studio communications reveal that MGM executives orchestrated an intricate cover-up regarding Lewis's birth, with documents referring to the Young situation requiring maximum discretion. Pregnancy concealment memos detailed Young's temporary withdrawal from public life in 1935, explained to the press as exhaustion, while executives monitored gossip columns for any Gable connection rumors. Lewis's 1958 lawsuit claimed that being forced to participate in the fiction of her own adoption constituted psychological abuse with lifelong consequences. Court transcripts show Young's attorneys successfully argued that parental decisions about a child's narrative fell outside judicial jurisdiction, regardless of their psychological impact, effectively blocking the case from proceeding. Witnesses recalled the disturbing dynamic at industry events where Young would introduce Lewis as her adopted daughter, while insiders exchanged knowing glances about her striking resemblance to Gable, including his distinctive ears, which Young had surgically altered on Lewis when she was 7 years old. This physical modification to conceal paternity became a central element in Lewis's claims of identity manipulation. Records later proved that despite the lawsuit's dismissal, it triggered significant changes in Young's will. Estate documents show Lewis initially received a substantially smaller inheritance than Young's other children, but amendments made following the legal challenge eventually equalized the distributions, a tacit acknowledgement many interpreted as delayed recognition of the truth. Peggy Ann Garner Academy Juvenile Award winner. Peggy Ann Garner discovered at age 21 that the trust fund supposedly containing her childhood earnings from films like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn had been systematically emptied by her mother through a series of loans that were never repaid, forcing the young actress to rebuild her financial life from zero despite having earned millions. Bank records obtained during litigation revealed that between 1943 and 1951, Garner's mother had withdrawn over $750,000 from her daughter's accounts using a loophole in the early Kugan law that allowed parents to access funds for child welfare and career development. Expense justifications included in court exhibits showed items like necessary European vacation for maternal health and residence renovations essential to maintaining appropriate image. The 1955 lawsuit marked the first time a former child star successfully challenged parental financial management after the implementation of the Kugan law, exposing critical weaknesses in the legislation's initial version. The presiding judge noted that protection laws are meaningless without enforcement mechanisms, a finding that directly influenced subsequent amendments strengthening trust requirements. Little did Hollywood know that Garner had been alerted to the financial mismanagement by a bank teller who recognized her from films and expressed surprise at her modest withdrawal request, given the account's previous balance. This chance encounter sparked the investigation that ultimately revealed the systematic depletion of her earnings. The court ordered partial repayment of $230,000, but collection proved nearly impossible as most assets had been spent or hidden. Industry records show that following the case, studios implemented additional verification protocols requiring quarterly trust fund audits by independent accountants for all contract players under 21, a practice that became standard throughout the entertainment industry by the 1960s. Gary Coleman. Though his case emerged just after Hollywood's traditionally defined golden age, Coleman's landmark 1989 lawsuit against his parents and business advisor created the modern template for child performer financial protection that would influence both legislation and industry practices for decades to come. Financial forensics revealed that despite earning $18 million during his different strokes years, Coleman had access to less than $220,000 upon reaching adulthood. Production records from NBC show executives had raised concerns about his parents' financial decisions as early as 1982, with one memo noting, "Disproportionate lifestyle expansion suggests potential mismanagement of minors' earnings. Legal consultation advised." The lawsuit exposed sophisticated methods of parental financial exploitation, including the creation of a shell corporation that employed Coleman's parents at combined annual salaries exceeding $1 million while technically serving as his managers. This arrangement effectively transferred his earnings to them through seemingly legitimate business expenses that circumvented trust protections. Witnesses recalled Coleman's devastating testimony about discovering his financial situation, quoting him as saying, "I earned enough to support myself for life, yet I can't even afford the medical care I need. Every smile I gave on camera, apparently, had a price my parents collected." His health issues, requiring ongoing dialysis, made the financial betrayal particularly consequential. Records later proved that Coleman's victory in court proved largely symbolic, as most of his earnings had already been spent. The case established the precedent that parents could be held legally liable for financial breaches of fiduciary duty to their performer children, a standard that would provide the foundation for numerous cases in the 1990s involving young stars from sitcoms and Disney productions. Dickie Moore. The Our Gang star, who appeared in over 100 films before age 15, discovered in adulthood that his earnings had been completely depleted through what court documents would later describe as systematic and deliberate misappropriation disguised as family expenses. His 1952 financial emancipation case revealed how thoroughly parents could control their children's careers and compensation. Studio payment records subpoenaed during litigation showed that while Moore earned approximately $1.2 million between 1927 and 1942, his personal accounts upon reaching majority contained less than $3,400. Expense ledgers maintained by his mother classified virtually all family costs, including mortgage payments, vehicles, and vacations, as career development necessities for maintaining appropriate public image. Moore's case highlighted a particularly troubling aspect of child performer exploitation: parents intentionally keeping their children uninformed about financial matters. Court transcripts reveal Moore testifying, "I was deliberately taught nothing about money while simultaneously earning it by the thousands. My questions were dismissed as inappropriate or disrespectful." Little did Hollywood know that Moore had been collecting evidence against his parents since age 16, maintaining a hidden journal documenting conversations where his requests for financial information were rebuffed. This contemporaneous record proved crucial in establishing the deliberate nature of the information withholding that prevented him from understanding his situation until reaching adulthood. The resulting judicial opinion created the first legal framework recognizing that child performers have a right to financial transparency even before reaching majority age. The court established that parents must provide quarterly accounting statements to performers over 12, creating a precedent that would be incorporated into subsequent revisions of the Kugan law. Freddie Bartholomew. The star of Little Lord Fauntleroy and David Copperfield became entangled in one of Hollywood's most complex custody and financial battles, fighting not just his parents, but competing guardians across 2 continents for control of both his person and his substantial earnings. His multi-year legal struggle exposed how thoroughly child performers could become commodities in adult conflicts. Court records from 1936 reveal that despite earning over $2 million during his first 3 years in Hollywood, Bartholomew lived on a $5 weekly allowance controlled by his aunt, who had initially brought him to America. Studio accounting documents show his parents, who had remained in England, suddenly appeared in California to claim both custody and his accumulated earnings once his success was established. The resulting 3-way legal battle, with his biological parents, his aunt, and MGM all claiming authority over different aspects of his life and career, lasted nearly 4 years and cost over $300,000 in legal fees, all paid from the young actor's earnings. Witnesses recalled Bartholomew, then just 12, sobbing in court as adults argued over control of his income while largely ignoring his personal welfare. MGM production memos reveal the studio's calculated involvement in the case, with one executive writing, "Financial interest requires we prevent disruption to B's filming schedule. Support whichever guardian arrangement ensures continued production." This nakedly commercial approach to what was ostensibly a family matter exemplified how thoroughly business considerations overshadowed child welfare in Golden Age Hollywood. Records later proved that by the time legal resolutions established a compromise custody arrangement, over 60% of Bartholomew's earnings had been depleted through legal costs and settlements. The case established important precedents regarding international jurisdiction in child performer cases and highlighted the need for independent representation for minors when guardians have conflicting interests. Margaret OBrien, the youngest Academy Award winner of her era, discovered at age 19 that the special Oscar she had received at age 7 had been sold by her mother, along with most of her earnings, triggering a legal challenge that revealed how thoroughly parents could control not just a child's income, but their professional legacy and achievements. Financial investigations revealed that despite earning approximately $5 million before age 18, O'Brien's accounts contained less than $100,000 when she gained legal control. Her mother had established an elaborate system of career expenses that functioned as family income, including employing multiple relatives in unnecessary management roles, with substantial salaries drawn from the child's earnings. O'Brien's 1951 lawsuit centered not just on financial mismanagement, but on the unauthorized sale of her personal property, including her 1944 Academy Juvenile Award and numerous costumes from her films. Court exhibits included MGM Wardrobe Department records showing her mother had claimed these items as gifted to the family, rather than personal property of the performer. Witnesses recalled O'Brien's powerful testimony about discovering her Oscar had been sold. "They took the one thing that was undeniably mine. Not my earnings or my contracts, but recognition of my work. Even my achievements were treated as family assets to liquidate." This emotional appeal resonated with the judge, who ordered the statuette's recovery, though it would take decades to actually locate. The resulting judicial opinion established the important precedent that performance awards, costumes, and similar professional items are the personal property of the child performer, regardless of age, not assets under parental control. This ruling directly influenced subsequent entertainment contract language regarding ownership of memorabilia and awards. Baby Peggy, Diana Sarah Carey. One of silent film's biggest child stars, Baby Peggy earned over $4 million before age 10, yet found herself working as a shop girl by her teens after her parents and grandfather squandered her entire fortune through mismanagement and failed investments. Her 1948 attempt to recover her earnings exposed the complete absence of protections for performers from the pre-Kugan era. Studio financial records showed that between 1921 and 1925, Peggy Jean Montgomery, her birth name, commanded $10,000 weekly, higher than many adult stars of the period. Contract documents revealed her father negotiated deals that paid earnings directly to him with no trust provisions or savings requirements, allowing complete parental control of her substantial income. Her legal challenge faced an insurmountable obstacle. During the silent era, no laws required any portion of a child's earnings to be preserved. Court transcripts show the judge expressing personal sympathy while ruling, "The moral failure here is evident, but no legal remedy exists for financial decisions, however irresponsible, made by parents prior to the establishment of current protections." Little did Hollywood know that baby Peggy had kept a detailed diary throughout her brief career, recording conversations where her father explicitly told production staff, "The money belongs to me. She's my child, so her work is my property." These contemporaneous records, while compelling as historical evidence, proved legally insufficient to overcome the absence of protective legislation during her earning years. Though unsuccessful in recovering her earnings, her case generated significant public attention that helped strengthen subsequent revisions to the Kugan law, particularly regarding historical cases. Industry guidelines established following her lawsuit recommended, though couldn't require, voluntary studio contributions to performers whose childhood earnings predated protective legislation. Jane Withers. The child star, once considered Shirley Temple's only real box office competitor, discovered upon reaching adulthood that her earnings, estimated at over $2 million, had been invested by her mother in a series of disastrous business ventures, prompting a 1947 legal challenge that revealed the inadequacy of early financial protection laws even after Kugan's case. Bank records obtained during discovery showed that while her mother had technically complied with the original Kugan law by maintaining a separate account for Jane's earnings, the legislation contained a critical loophole. Parents maintained investment authority over these funds. Investment documentation revealed her mother had channeled nearly $1.7 million into failed businesses, primarily benefiting other family members. The lawsuit highlighted how even well-intentioned parental management could devastate a child performer's financial future. Court testimony revealed her mother genuinely believed these investments would multiply Jane's fortune rather than deplete it. The judge noted, "Parental love does not guarantee financial acumen, yet current law assumes these qualities are linked." Witnesses recalled Withers testifying about her mother's reaction when confronted with the losses. "She told me she was sorry the investments failed, but reminded me I could always make more money by returning to acting. My childhood labor was viewed as an infinitely renewable resource." This perspective illuminated how thoroughly the industry normalized the commercial exploitation of young performers. The resulting judicial opinion directly influenced the 1950 amendments to the Kugan law, which introduced requirements for court approval of any investment of a child performer's protected funds. This crucial revision prevented parents from making unilateral investment decisions that could jeopardize their children's financial security. Bobbs Watson. The child actor known for his memorable crying scenes in Boys Town and numerous MGM productions of the 1930s and 1940s discovered at age 20 that his earnings had been completely depleted through what his 1953 lawsuit described as ritualized financial abuse, disguised as industry standard practices. His case exposed how studio complicity often enabled parental exploitation. Financial investigations revealed Watson had earned approximately $1.1 million, yet reached adulthood with less than $8,000 in savings. Studio accounting records showed his parents had negotiated contract provisions, creating consulting positions for themselves with substantial salaries and benefits, effectively redistributing his earnings to themselves through seemingly legitimate arrangements. His lawsuit highlighted a particularly insidious form of exploitation, studios offering parents employment as a tacit condition of child casting. Production notes from MGM revealed internal discussions about Watson's parents being particularly demanding regarding their own compensation, but worth accommodating to maintain access to the boy's marketable emotional range. Little did Hollywood know that Watson had methodically documented instances of being forced to perform when ill because, as he testified, "My parents and the studio both reminded me that too many people depended on my salary." His contemporaneous notes recorded being given medication to suppress fever symptoms during filming of key scenes, prioritizing production schedules over his health. The resulting settlement, while confidential, directly influenced subsequent industry regulations requiring independent medical clearance before minor performers could work, removing this decision from potentially conflicted parents and producers. Watson's case established important precedents regarding the separation of parental employment from child performer contracts. Baby Leroy, Ronald Leroy Overacker, Paramount's youngest ever contract player, faced perhaps the most egregious case of parental financial exploitation when his 1940s investigation revealed his mother had spent his entire fortune on a lavish lifestyle while fabricating studio documentation to conceal the misappropriation. His situation exposed critical weaknesses in studio oversight of child performer finances. Studio payment records obtained during the investigation showed Baby Leroy earned approximately $1.8 million before age 5, with his final contract including the first-ever education trust provision setting aside funds specifically for future schooling. Bank documentation revealed his mother systematically withdrew these protected funds by submitting falsified tuition invoices for a non-existent private academy. The legal challenge was complicated by Leroy's young age during his earning years. He had stopped working in films by age 5, meaning most financial decisions were made and executed before he had any capacity to question them. Court testimony included child psychology experts discussing the unique vulnerability of infant performers, who earned millions before developing even basic numerical understanding. Witnesses recalled Leroy's mother maintaining appearances of financial responsibility by frequently discussing investments for his future. At studio events, while bank records showed simultaneous withdrawals, funding luxury purchases. One Paramount executive testified about congratulating her on her admirable financial planning while being unaware of the ongoing depletion. The resulting judicial opinion established the important precedent that studios had a duty to verify the actual receipt of services paid from child performer trusts rather than accepting parental documentation without confirmation. This ruling directly influenced industry practices requiring third-party verification of educational and medical expenses before trust disbursements. Dean Stockwell, the prolific child actor of the 1940s, discovered upon reaching majority that, despite appearing in over 20 films, his accessible savings amounted to just $4,000. His 1952 legal investigation revealed a sophisticated system of parental financial management that technically complied with existing laws, while effectively transferring his earnings to family control through elaborate contractual structures. Financial documents showed Stockwell earned approximately $1.3 million during his childhood career. Yet his parents established a corporation that employed him and paid him a minimal salary while directing the bulk of studio payments to management and development costs. This corporate structure created a legal buffer between his earnings and the protection mechanisms intended by the Kugan law. His case highlighted a crucial weakness in early child performer protections. They focused exclusively on individual contracts while ignoring corporate structures that could redirect earnings. Court transcripts showed the judge noting, "The law protects children from direct exploitation while leaving the door wide open to indirect methods. This circumvention violates the spirit while adhering to the letter of existing protections." Little did Hollywood know that MGM executives had identified this problem years earlier, but failed to address it. Studio legal department memos from 1947 explicitly noted, "Stockwell arrangement technically legal, but ethically questionable. Recommendation against studio intervention, as matter falls outside our jurisdiction." This institutional reluctance to challenge problematic practices enabled their continuation. The resulting judicial opinion directly influenced the 1958 amendments to the Kugan law, which expanded protections to cover earnings flowing through corporate entities and management companies. This crucial revision closed a significant loophole that had allowed sophisticated parents to bypass the intended protections for child performers. Deanna Durban, the singing sensation who reportedly saved Universal Studios from bankruptcy with her immense popularity, discovered in adulthood that her parents and the studio had collaborated to structure her compensation in ways that minimized her actual earnings while maximizing tax advantages for the studio. Her 1950 financial reconstruction case revealed how thoroughly corporate interests could overshadow child welfare. Contract analysis revealed that while Durban was publicly reported as earning $250,000 per film, her actual compensation was significantly lower due to complex deferred payment structures. Studio accounting records showed payments directed to various family-controlled entities rather than protected trusts, effectively circumventing Kugan law requirements while maintaining technical compliance. Her legal challenge exposed a particularly troubling aspect of child performer exploitation. Studios structuring deals to create financial dependence extending into adulthood. Contract language specified that significant portions of her earnings would only become accessible if she continued making films through age 30, effectively holding her childhood earnings hostage to future adult career decisions. Witnesses recalled Durban's powerful testimony about this contractual manipulation. "I was presented with an impossible choice: continue performing regardless of my adult wishes, or forfeit money I had already earned as a child. My past work was being used to control my future." This perspective resonated strongly with the court in establishing the coercive nature of such arrangements. The resulting judicial opinion established the important precedent that earnings from childhood performances must be fully accessible upon reaching majority age, regardless of continuing career choices. This ruling directly influenced subsequent legislation prohibiting contractual provisions that make childhood earnings contingent on adult career decisions. The final take. The courage of these young performers in challenging their own parents transformed not just their personal situations, but the entire legal framework protecting child performers. From Jackie Coogan's groundbreaking case that established the first protections to Gary Coleman's battle that modernized enforcement, each lawsuit revealed different aspects of a system that prioritized profit over child welfare. Today, the Kugan law requires 15% of a minor's gross earnings to be deposited in blocked trust accounts, inaccessible to anyone, including parents, until the performer reaches adulthood. What emerges from these interconnected cases is how thoroughly the entertainment industry commodified childhood itself. These young performers were simultaneously irreplaceable artistic talents and interchangeable commercial assets, depending on studio needs. Their legal battles ultimately forced the industry to acknowledge that a child's performance belongs fundamentally to the child, not to parents, studios, or the public that adored them. The next time you watch these legendary performances, remember that behind those innocent smiles lay financial battles that would shape entertainment law for generations. Were these children exploited victims of a system designed to profit from their youth, or pioneers whose struggles created protections for every child performer who followed? Subscribe to explore more hidden histories of Hollywood's youngest stars, and share your thoughts below on which case you found most surprising or impactful.